Who makes plans for your organization? Who does? What's the objective, and how do we put stuff toward it? That's some people's favorite definition of leadership, too. You'd say a leader knows what to do, why it's important, how to bring resources to bear, and that's what they do. So how do I put this toward that? Okay. But the noble make plans, and by noble deeds they stand. The planning and the doing is here, right? I'm making a plan, I'm doing it, and then we're learning how good the plan was from our doing. So, but with noble purposes in intake, because our memory verse is, and my God will meet all of your needs to the glory, riches in Christ Jesus. Good. So our needs are met. We're forgetting all that when we do this. And then God cleans it up right here, Nate. The Lord Almighty has sworn, surely as I have planned, so it will be. And as I have purposed, so it will happen. He's got a plan, and nothing shakes his plan. Nothing operates outside of his grand purpose. It's all coming together. So he's planned, and nothing surprises him. Not anybody in the garden messing up. Jesus was coming at just the right time for sinners. Just the right time. The sins that Ed and I commit later today, paid for in advance. He's not surprised. He already knew. So he's saying, stop that. Get back on mission. Come on. Let's get back on it. I paid for that. Move forward. But it's going to happen just as he purposes. And so our goal, if it's going to happen just the way he purposes, what would our goal be then? Figure him out, align with him. Figure him out, align with him. Figure him out, align with him. Philip Yancey says, see what the Spirit's doing and get in that current. Move forward. All right. What is your organization's purpose? Let's hear two or three. So Alan Barnhart, he just lined up with what Leo said. I'm going to make the purpose of the organization to glorify God. And then the mission of the organization, which we're going to see in a minute, to be the best crane operator in North America. And to do it with, so he can get off the purpose, and the mission can then switch. The purpose might not ever change. That's one thing to check a good purpose. Is like if circumstances would change, or to check your values. If everything changes, we have less nickels or more nickels. If COVID comes again, would we change? All these sort of things. If something, would it stay the same? A purpose should stay the same no matter what. I guess a company like Barnhart, I'm not suggesting this, but they're doing wind turbines everywhere and putting those up. They could get in the wind turbine business, and that could become a bigger business over time and still hit their purpose, right? Okay. Here's what Jesus says about purpose, can it? Jesus saw them following and asked, what do you want? First red letters in John's gospel. What do you want? If Jesus comes to you today and said, we're here, Stephen, we're here. What do you want? That's something we want to know, right? So that's our purpose is what you want. And again, Leah made it pretty clear, and that should be alignment with what's going to happen anyway. Let me get in it. Purpose, okay? What's your organization's vision? And not every organization has a vision. And let me tell you what a vision is. And in the article, there's a link to a good article on vision. It's one of the most read articles on our site. It's a vivid description of what happens if we do our purpose. Who can see your child growing up? Stephen Covey taught us, let's look at what's really close to us, and then let's apply that in this other realm of business or whatever. But you see a vision. What do you want for them? What do you care for them? What do you want for the business? Henry Ford, you know how he started? Just like Hemmings Wilson, almost. He went on a trip and said, man, people need to be able to see this. And horse and buggies can't go this far. I don't know if it was the Grand Canyon, but it was some overlooking cliff. The world, everybody needs to see this. So technology is coming around at the same time. What if we make a car that the world can afford, the average person can afford? And then he added to his purpose and mission. I think in this case, it's mixed up, those two are. and that everybody that works on them, could have one too. When we talk about justice initiatives or inclusion initiatives at our businesses right now, if the people work on it, they get to have one. We're going to pay a salary. So the people that work on this stuff are going to flourish just as the people who all get to see this nation. That's exactly how Kimmons Wilson said, like, man, this nation ought to be seen. We ought to put up some places for people to stay. Kind of the same thing. We want people to, we see them, and the way where Brian will go is different than where Robert will go. It's different than where Cal will go. And they'll have their own freedom to go, so the vision then takes off. It's focused. A vivid description is what it looks like. And Ford was really good at that. Here's what Jesus said when they said, this is their answer. Read this, Brian. Turning around, they said, Rabbi, where are you staying? So he asked them what they want. So then how does he answer that, Michael? Come, he replied, and you will see. So they went and saw where he was staying. I'll show you. I'm going to show you how this is done. Just come on. You don't know what you want yet exactly. Let me show you. Just come and see. And he's a come and see God for sure, right? He's constantly inviting us in to see his plans and purposes and inviting us to join him. All right. Come and see. Dig a little deeper. That thing that's troubling you, it's in here. Dig a little deeper. Get a friend. Let's work on it together. Okay, your organization's mission. Many companies don't differentiate between purpose and mission, and that's not the most important thing. But you see how Allen was big glory, Ford was accessibility, and then it's more like to be the best at doing it. What's your mission? Because part of this will be alignment. You got some kind of triple alignment going on here, maybe quadruple if you run a team. But you got align this to God's will, aligning your team, your purpose of the organization. How can I serve it? Working with somebody later today, they're thinking about making this big, huge change. They're trying to figure out, and they've made this. Somebody's made them an offer. It's one of the headline businesses that we're seeing in Memphis right now. Like, I know there's a lot of mission there. I know as much as Malawi, it needs missionaries. But I wonder, is it meeting the needs of my family at the same time? So he's aligning, he's trying to figure out, do all his missions align to the one mission? But what's your mission? Purpose is to glorify God. What's your mission? Follow, do likewise. We have the primary calling is follow, do likewise. That's the mission. Let's see how, and what's Jesus' mission? To redeem the world. He says it. He's such a good leader. He says it lots of ways, which is key to communicating as a leader. What are some other ways? Take away the sin of the world. What did you say, Ty?
Save all these people.
To save all these people. And Colossians wraps it up and says, he came to reconcile all things to himself by peace by the blood of the Christ. To make everything, and that makes us reconcilers because we're following and doing the same. It's just one other way to say it. And then he preached that text in Isaiah that made everybody mad at the time, that I came to preach good news to the poor, to give hope, to heal the lame, so the blind would see. He came to do justice and righteousness, and that's how he's going to reconcile. Those are all missionary statements. And which of those are we called to join? You can say it there. All of them. All right. All right. Read this, Michael. Jesus left there and went along the Sea of Galilee. Then he went up on a mountainside and sat down. Great crowds came to him, bringing the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others, and laid them at his feet, and he healed them. And see how he's doing something that we can emulate? He's meeting presenting needs to bring about this great need. He could just take us all up right now, right? But somehow he wants to work the way we're working, meeting a presenting need. Crowds came, healing the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute. And John the Baptist got confused in prison. He's like, hey, go see if he's real. Go check it out. And Jesus said, well, tell John. Tell John this is happening. The lame are walking. The mute are talking. The blind are seeing. He'll know. That'll encourage him. It's happening. It's happening. He healed people. So he meets our presenting needs. He's doing this all the time. Then what, Cal? The people were amazed when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled made well, the lame walking, and the blind seeing. And they praised the God of Israel. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion for these people. They have already been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. I do not want to send them away hungry, or they may collapse on the way. So in the first paragraph, how's it working? How is the presenting needs working out for the overall purpose? They're amazed. They're praising God. They're being reconciled right there. They're coming to him. They're being saved right there. Turning and praising God because he's meeting presenting needs. He's meeting their very most basic needs. And then what's he say in this second part? It's working so well. Everybody's praising. How long have they been out there? 3 days. See the 3-day reference? See the need for lunch? Okay, see, we're getting there. 3 days. His disciple answered, where could we get enough bread in this remote place to feed such a crowd? How many loaves do you have? Jesus asked. 7, they replied, and a few small fish. Does he need us at this party? No. He wants us. He wants to join in, and he wants us to say, what do you got? Another translation says, what do you have? Just straight up like that. And although there's a boy, he has some loaves. Like, how many loaves do you have? What do you have? Specifically. There are a bunch of people here. He already knows the answer. He knows the answer to every question that he asks. And he's asking the question. What do you have? They give a specific answer. I got 7 of these. Not enough. That's what they're thinking. How does my little thing matter? We're going to cover that in just a minute. You're going to love it. All right, Charlie? He told the crowd to sit down on the ground. Then he took the 7 loaves and the fish, and when he had given thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples, and they in turn to the people. They all ate and were satisfied. Afterward, the disciples picked up 7 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was 4,000 men, besides women and children. After Jesus had sent the crowd away, he got into the boat and went to the vicinity of Magadan. Okay. Mission accomplished. This 3-day mission accomplished. How much did they pick up? What did the 7 loaves and a few pieces of fish have to do with this? Everything, everything. He went back to his hometown. He could do few miracles there because of their little faith. So somehow, they're stewarding, and they're out there fired up too, right? They're seeing these miracles. The Chosen episodes are fabulous on this, but like he's out there, they're fired up, the mission is working, and then they just don't want to go bad at the end of the thing. Like we got the client this far, Cal, let's finish it off. Let's get this done. And he involves them in this detail that he doesn't need. And that's what he's saying to us. Every minute, every day, what do you got? What do you got? Put this thing toward that thing. He'll supply all the needs. If you give up this last thing you're holding it so tight to, because think about the guy who brought those. You know, the rest of these people are going to eat, but I've saved just enough back. Who's been on a mission trip with that guy? Like the guy who had all the extra bars and deep in his bag. So like, so he's got that. I've been there. It's like, eventually we talked him into sharing them. But like, but yeah. You're hailing, like, can we have it? Can we have it? Will you trust us with it? You know, you've seen all these people walking and they didn't walk on the way here. They were carried. You've seen people leaping. You've seen people praising God. Can you just hand over this little bit? And then he wants them to know, what do you think he did with that? That's a whole nother question. All right, what strengths and advantages do you have? Okay. People were amazed. Who wants referral-based customers? Who would count relationships as one of your strengths? See how the relationships are working? See how when it's happening, everybody's telling everybody. So if I'm staying pure to the mission, people are going to tell people. And we're not following Jesus so we can have better business. We're seeing his methods, and seeing how aligned we are with Him so we can be more on mission. And I'm going to call you to the last part of this verse, and I'm going to read it, okay? If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it's serving, then serve. If it's teaching, then teach. If it's to encourage, then encouragement. If it's giving, then give generously. If it's to lead, do it diligently. If it's to show mercy, do it cheerfully. What this is saying is if you have it, put it toward the needs of somebody else. If you can encourage, who can do that? Some of these, maybe excuse me, maybe everybody hadn't prophesied yesterday. But actually you have if you've told somebody the truth about how it's going to end up. But even more, who can encourage? Who can encourage? And then I'm turning everything, what Paul is saying through the Holy Spirit here is if you have it, it's toward something. It's toward somebody else. It's for the good of others. Every gift is given by God to use and serve others. Kept to itself, brought in, is not using it. We learned that in baseball, right, Nate? It's the one who uses his gift that understands the most. And the person who uses their gift, even if they're not going to be a pro player, learns to use gifts. They get better at using gifts. So I've got to put it to the use. If I do it just for myself, for accolades, it's going to crumble because those won't stay. If I know I'm doing it for the needs, if I'm putting that gift toward them, using it makes me better at it. Using it grows the gift. Putting it toward the needs of others grows the advantage. That's one, you're going to ask later, and they have in the other groups, what's the difference between strengths, advantages, and means that you quarry and utilize, is that it gets better with use. You can't use it all up because you keep growing, even if you run out of baseball talent. You've learned to deploy gifts well and keep going. Okay. Now we're going to move into means. And what means do you have? And let me redefine a means. A means is inanimate and can be utilized, quarry. We can use some really tough words with those that we wouldn't use with people. We can manipulate them, like the steel in that chair has been manipulated. Plastic gets manipulated. Natural resources get used inanimately for the good of the world. Money is inanimate and put toward that. They go together, but an advantage for FedEx is above everybody for a while in the 70s was absolutely positively overnight. We'll be there first. It took a bunch of means, monies, planes, logistics to get that done. You put them together. What means do you have? Technology is a means. AI is a means. How are we going to use this for good? It can be, and they're neutral, so they can be used for good or bad. An advantage should be used for good. They're really good. So Robert, read this. How many loaves do you have? Jesus asked. 7, they replied, and a few small fish. They've been using their gifts. The disciples certainly have been using their gifts and their advantages, big time on display. Now what means do we have to knock this out? He asked for that. And this is what Alan says, we put on here. God doesn't care about the decimal places or the commas. What's the math of how the miracle of feeding the 4,000 worked out? The 4,000 men, which means there were more than 10,000 in all. What's the decimal of 7 loaves, and a few small pieces of fish, and 10,000 people eating with 7 baskets left over? Quick math.
It's God math.
God math. Decimal. He doesn't care. Like, I don't have enough yet. Who knows somebody has a philosophy of, well, I'll save up and then I'll get really good at it and then I'll use it. Then I'll start really giving. No, you get good at giving now. You get good at deploying now. You get good at taking what you got and sending it out now, and then you'll get even better at it. I got to save up a little so I can give up a little. No, take the little you have and give it. You can do it. All right, what other means do you have? Energy? I think that's a strength, Charlie. I think that's inherent to you. And the more you use energy, you get it back, I think. Right? You encourage somebody, you encourage her. You get encouraged back, yes? Yeah? Time is meant to be structured, manipulated, quarried. Okay, how can I get more out of this? I still got to sleep. I think sleep's probably a means. It's used towards something. That in itself, although sleep, it can be pretty glorious. But it's hard to give it to others. So I'm using it to fill me up. Okay, the key here is these don't run out and they're human to some degree. Or even if it's a patent or a trademark, we're leveraging it to the fullest extent. And you would use it and grow it and make it better. And here, it is something I really want to extract and get the most out of. And you can't hurt it. You can't hurt money. Now, look, natural resources you could use incorrectly and not serve the needs of the world and pollute the world. So it's not like you can do anything with it, but if I'm keeping the needs of the world in mind, how can I want to maximize the use of that pen. And if I got 18 extra pens sitting around, I really can't maximize those. I might send those out. Yes, and now metrics are important. What metrics do you use to run your business? Throw some out. Sales. So what's the metric of sales? Revenue. Commission. Good. Commissions. Revenue, net income, stock value. People, and one of the groups did argue about this. That maybe 80% of the businesses really run this way, but the great ones don't. So they're old books now, but Built to Last is talking about companies that had an external purpose from the very beginning. 3M, others that they knew they were serving a need of the world. And then Jim Collins followed up with that with good to great. What makes a great company? But these things are, do we have enough to keep going? Stakeholders are still investors, so we need to make promises to investors, but be careful that we don't promise these things rather than these things. New customers, loyal customers, customers referring, that's what Net Promoter Score. Some people argue, and Harvard's argued, that the number one metric in business is the Net Promoter Score. Are your customers referring you? And then this metric here. Who's got these metrics? Are the people we're serving flourishing? How do we know it? Somebody told me recently, a great Christian man, and several of them have gotten together and run a business. And in one sense, they're saying, you can't really, the only metrics you can focus on are the intake metrics. Because there they've separated. When you make that statement, you've separated your mission and your purpose from your business as soon as you say that. Now, because we're trying to see people flourish, we're going to gather up some more nickels and some more resources and help them flourish. And this is good for them. A lot of the projects for the state of Tennessee are good for the state, yes. People will flourish if we finish this project. And then our very structure of the semester, excellent work leads to blessing others, which leads to them knowing Jesus. And if they know him well enough, what were the people that got fed? They were witnessing before they got fed. Then they got fed and they really went home and witnessed. Here's the key question I want you to think of. Which is easier, the leap to make out of these two leaps to make? From revenue, net income, stock value, to customer satisfaction and growth, and do they refer? Are we wooing them? Are we making them so satisfied they're telling other people, or to flourishing, knowing Jesus, and witnessing Jesus? Which one is the bigger leap? From financial metrics to customer metrics, to care about customers and flourishing, or to kingdom metrics? Which is the biggest leap? If we can get the focus off of ourselves and what the company needs, the 80-20 rule is keeping people focused on us. Focused on how do we rearrange this thing, sever the people that are not part of the 80-20, or 20-80 is really the rule. How do we get this thing right for us? And there's some health to that. It's not all bad, but if we're totally focused on what we can do for the world, what we can do for customers, and our obsession, Jobs was obsessed with technology in every little detail. If I get that, you could get closer. Now, only Jesus can lead you to doing this one. But if your focus is on the needs of people and caring for them, eventually I'm going to say, what do they need more than that? What do they need more than that? Oh, I got these team members. I really feel like they're healthy members of the team, and they really look to me for leadership. Now I've got a relationship. And now that relationship can lead to them really flourishing. They're flourishing in their jobs. Maybe they'll ask me some advice for some other kind of flourishing. And if they do that, they'll be witnessing and telling everybody. Okay, can your purpose, vision, and mission be the same as Jesus? Let's say it loud together. Can your purpose, vision, and mission be the same as Jesus?
Glory.
Yes, in your place. What needs to change? This is the thing to think about over the week. What needs to change to align it? And we're going to make these, some of these are going to be really small. Some of you might think, your strategy doesn't have to be huge. It can be, if I change this one thing to align to the purpose, if I use this one means, this one gift, this one advantage, how can I align this one thing more to the mission? That's what we're going to do. Okay, so keep thinking about what you've got. Stay on this. It's okay. Keep thinking about your advantages, your strengths, and your means. What are all the means you have? If Jesus showed up and says, what do you have? How many we got? What do you think? I'll do something. I'll help you do something with them.